Part 2 of turning our 1960s kitchen into our dream kitchen. After buying the house, I immediately started walking through my ideas with my dad, trying to figure out if my vision was actually possible, which meant a lot of measuring, remeasuring, and taping things out on the floor, and standing in imaginary walkways to see if it actually felt right. We ended up finding an amazing craftsman to build our cabinets, but no renderings, no computers, just pencil, paper, shared ideas, a price, and a timeline. So if I wanted to actually see the kitchen before it was built, that part was on me. I spent hours every night designing, using 3D tools online just to make sure everything would actually work. Moving cabinets inches at a time, changing layouts, figuring out what floor plan made the most sense without even living in the space yet. Then I handed my designs over to our cabinet guy, and honestly just hoped he could bring it to life based on the few photos and measurements. We also made some big changes. We added a new window and a sliding glass door to bring in more natural light. I went back and forth on cabinet colors, more times than I would like to admit. And the island stain, I had no idea stain could look completely different depending on the wood, sanding, and the lighting. So there was a lot of testing and checking, even going to the shop while they were still staining to make sure it was right. Then it was time to build. Base cabinets went in first, then appliances, then came the upper cabinets, the drawers, and the hardware. And remember the countertop dilemma? After 3 tries, they finally fit perfectly. And slowly, piece by piece, this kitchen we've been imagining for months started coming to life. And honestly, all those late nights stressing over the design, the cabinet colors, the appliances were worth it. We still have 2 big decisions left, the backsplash and the pendant lights. I'm not rushing those, so I'll take you along to help me decide.
This kitchen renovation should only cost me $2,000. What I did was went to Home Depot, got a quote for all the new cabinets, bottoms, all the tops, and countertops, and it came out to $1,900. I also posted all these cabinets for sale on Facebook Marketplace. I got someone coming today at 1 p.m. to take all of these cabinets. It's currently 11:30, so I have an hour and a half to get all these removed. So this half of my duplex had these old oak cabinets in it. In all honesty, they were in pretty good condition. My original plan was definitely to paint the cabinets instead of replacing them, but I ended up getting a quote from Home Depot to get new shaker cabinets, and it was only $2,000. Right when I got my quote back, I decided to post the cabinets that I had for sale on Marketplace and ended up being able to get $500 for them. While it took a little bit of work to get them all out without damaging them, it was definitely worth the $500 I saved. All the cabinets were a little old and greasy, and then they also had all this dirt underneath them, so I'm definitely glad that I replaced them. It would have been a big pain to have to degrease all the cabinets before I even started sanding them and then paint them. I think the value I added just in this side of my duplex by replacing the cabinets instead of just painting them was a lot. The amount of time I was able to save by just taking out these cabinets and replacing them was a lot compared to what I would have had to spend on it if I painted them. At first I tried loosening all the connections with my hands, and then I used on channel locks and still couldn't get them. It started pissing me off, so I decided to just use my multi-tool and cut it out. The countertop with the sink in it took a little bit more finessing to get out, but eventually, just like everything else, I was able to get it. The last thing I had to do was take out these last 2 cabinets and then take the plumbing off so I could pull the cabinets out. This tailpiece got in the way, so I just ended up cutting it too. Well, it's just been under 1 hour. I just got all the demolition done. The people for the cabinets are coming in 30 minutes, so I made that time and I got some time to spare. If you guys want to see what this kitchen transforms into, make sure to follow along and you'll see the results. This kitchen renovation should only cost me $2,000. The first video in this series, I came through and I took out all the old cabinets and then sold them on Facebook Marketplace. And in this video, I'm going to be painting behind the walls and then reinstalling the new cabinets. So the first thing that I did before installing the cabinets was prep the floor. So I cut and ripped out the old linoleum that was on the floor and then had to scrape off the adhesive that was underneath that as well. Once I got that taken care of, I started setting the cabinets in place one by one. I say the thing that sucked most about this install is that the floors are extremely unlevel because the house is almost 100 years old. But the one good part about this install is I was able to see where the old screw holes were from the old cabinets and put my screws right back in the same spot. It was the same process cleaning up where the floor went on this other side where the Lazy Susan's gonna sit. Then I jumped back over to the other side where the sink was gonna sit because I realized I didn't have any other sink in the house besides the one in the bathroom. I ended up using laminate countertops that I also picked up from Home Depot. I like these because they match the comps in the area and are cheap and easy to work with. I know it would have been a lot easier to use a jigsaw to cut this out, but the blade I had was too long and kept hitting the bottom of the cabinet. Next up was installing the kitchen sink, and I used this kitchen and bath silicone that sealed it up pretty well. This was actually the same sink that I took out of the old kitchen, but it was in great condition and I could save a couple $100. I used a Moen faucet, which is what I use in most of my properties, and I just picked that up from Menards. And lucky for me, the plumbing was pretty plug and play like usual. As soon as the sink was in, I jumped back over to the other side to get working on the cabinets and the countertops. I know there's definitely a lot better ways to cut this, but I just used a circular saw, some painter's tape, and a multi-tool. Once I got both of the mitered corners cut to length, I laid them on the ground, glued them together, and used these bolts that came with the kit to adhere them. It was definitely a little intimidating the first time I tried gluing these 2 corners together, but this is probably my 5th time installing laminate countertops, so it was pretty easy. This last base cabinet was definitely the worst. The floors were super unlevel, but luckily I was able to get it done. Besides the end caps on the countertops, to finish up the bottoms, I just need to install this faceplate. Okay, so we just got finished up with all the base cabinets in this build as well as the countertops. It took a little bit to get all the countertops super level. This house is 100 years old. Even though this is all sheetrock, it was taken out of the studs at one point. This house does have a lot of leaning. The floors aren't super level, so that did make the install a little tough. However, we got it done. One question I did have is for any other landlords out there, do you think replacing these with stainless steel will get me that much higher rents? I know it'll look a lot better, but these work just fine. I'm wondering if I can really get higher rents if I replace these. And then lastly, make sure to follow along where we put in the upper cabinets and do any other miscellaneous stuff in this kitchen to get it finished out. This kitchen renovation is only gonna cost me $2,000 and it's almost done. This kitchen has taken way longer than I expected, but it's finally starting to come together. I started by getting the upper cabinets hung up, and getting these things level was kind of a pain because if the first one is even off a little bit, every cabinet after that is off too. Then I went ahead and replaced all the outlets and switches in the kitchen. A lot of the old ones were painted over, worn out, and just looked rough. For extra safety, I also just taped around them because some of these old metal boxes can get sketchy if a wire ever were to come loose. Once I got it leveled, I just tossed on the cover. After that, I moved over to the shelving side of the kitchen. Originally, I thought about putting another cabinet there, but nothing would have lined up right with the window or the counter and would have just made the kitchen feel tighter. Then I started working through all the random finish work that takes forever during renovations. Rehanging the little door under the stairs, fixing the weather stripping, repainting doors, and trimming stuff out. At this point, the old white fridge had sold on Facebook Marketplace, so I brought the new stainless steel fridge in that I also found on Facebook Marketplace. I've saved a ton of money buying appliances this way instead of paying full price in stores. Then I decided to swap out the old can lights that are over the sink for new LED ones. It's a super quick upgrade, but it makes the whole kitchen feel way brighter right away. At this point, I started putting on the toe kicks and trim around the kitchen, and this is usually the stage in the project where it finally stops feeling like a construction zone. There were two other lights in the kitchen that I decided to switch out as well. These are the same lights I use in all my rental properties to make it uniform throughout. And I will say, if you're still using pneumatic tools, I highly recommend upgrading to something battery powered. Home Depot also finally got the last cabinet in after almost a month of waiting and being told 3 separate times that the cabinet was ordered. That definitely held up a bunch of finish work in the kitchen, but once we got that done, I was able to repaint the door in the garage. One of the most satisfying parts was finally taking the plastic off the cabinets and putting the handles on. I made this little cardboard jig so every handle lined up perfectly without having to measure every single one separately. I also switched one of the cabinet doors around so it opened towards the stove instead of away from it because the original setup didn't make much sense. Right at the end, I finished up the countertop end caps using an iron and sanded everything down with a file. Last thing we did was bring the stove in. I found the stove for $400 on Marketplace and it's usually around $1,500. Once the appliances were in, the whole kitchen finally started feeling complete. Next video, I'm doing the full walkthrough of the renovation, showing all the before and afters, breaking down the costs, and going over what I think the place will rent for now. Follow along because the reveal is coming out next. This kitchen renovation only cost me $2,000. So coming into the kitchen here, this is where we did the complete kitchen renovation. You may have seen some of those videos online, but we basically took out all the old cabinets, replaced them with new cabinets that we got from Home Depot, got new countertops. We decided to do shelves over here instead of cabinets. The 27-inch cabinets would have overhung this far, which would have been further than the space cabinet and would look kind of funky. So we decided to kind of open it up and then get that open feel when you walk in the door. This is the door to the garage. We redid that, put a new handle on. And then as you'll see, I asked in some of the previous videos if we should do new appliances or not. We decided to go forward with new appliances. We got both of these on Facebook Marketplace. And then all the lights in this entire place were renovated as well. So we got new can lights here and new lights on both sides here. Over here we got the pantry. It has an automatic light that turns on when you walk in there. We completely repainted and put new shelves. While the entire kitchen renovation was a little bit over budget, I think it turned out really well. I didn't really budget for new appliances because we had working ones, but I think replacing those really tied everything together. If you guys want to see more renovations like this, make sure to follow for more.
Here's 3 ways to upgrade your kitchen on a budget from a girl who upgraded her kitchen for $600. If you're new here, my name is Kanisha and I'm a self-taught DIYer. First on the list is going to be paint. You can completely change the look of a room for less than $100 with the new coat of paint. Number 2, paint your countertops. Okay, listen, hear me out. Marble countertops are super expensive. So I painted my own and covered them with stone coat epoxy. The most important step in this process is going to be your prep work to ensure you don't damage your cabinet. And number 3, stick and peel backsplash. It was affordable, easy to install, and completely changed the look of my kitchen. Be sure to follow for more affordable DIY inspiration. You don't have to break the bank in order to create a space that you love. So,
can you believe I transformed my kitchen from this to this for £500, guys? I still can't believe it myself. Anyway, we started off with painting. I painted the walls and the tiles with the same paint. It's from Zinasa and it was called Perma White. It came to £41. I then went on to remodel my cupboards myself. I used MDF shaker trim. That came to £128 altogether. For adhesive and caulk, that came to £21. And then finally we came in with painting and priming. In total I spent £85 on the paint. I already had some primer left over from the bathroom. I then thought it'd be cheaper to vinyl wrap my worktop instead of buying a new one. In total I spent £54 on the vinyl wrap, and caulking the edges really finished it off nicely. I then decided to install a brand new sink. This isn't included in the total because I decided to go for a really expensive one, and you don't have to buy the one that I bought. In total, it cost me just over £250 for the sink. In terms of flooring, we spent £96 on some more adhesive tiles. And then I came in and added some brass handles to the cupboard doors just to finish off the look. They were £36. In total, for miscellaneous, we have £40. And yeah, guys, our running total for this kitchen renovation came to £501 altogether. And I have to admit, I am so proud of this kitchen. It looks beautiful.